Alright, I think I got it working now. Okay, so what I'm gonna be doing is I'm literally just gonna be doing what the title says. I have a massive tier list here, and I'm gonna be putting every single one of these in a tier list with this system or whatever. Yeah. Also, sorry if I'm really bad with this. I haven't streamed since like February or something. So this is like the first one in like 9 months. So yeah, it's been quite a long time. But I'm not gonna like waste time. I'm just gonna get started. So yeah. Um, First episode we have is Adventures in Light Distortion. This one, it's mixed because I'd say like it started off like kind of funny because it was like they're trying to. This one was in the zoo arc. I remember they were trying to like go to space because they needed to go to Homeworld to get Greg back from the human zoo, and this was when like they were trying to get there as fast as they could, and then but Steven was like messing with the settings, so he had to like yeah he just messed it up, and then it was kind of funny because it was like they're like shapeshifting all weird the gems, and then he got like really like traumatic almost immediately because it was like oh my god he messed up the whole mission, so it was like really sad. But I guess this one was more of like a mix of emotions, like a roller coaster of emotions. So I'd probably put it at like a B tier, just because it was like good, but it wasn't like the best. Next one, Alone at Sea. I believe this was the one with Lapis when they took her on the boat ride with Stephen and Greg. This one was pretty good, I'd say also. There's nothing that really makes it like stand out. It was just like a fun episode, and then like Jasper came in at the end though, and it was kind of like tense because it was like following the events of like just Malachite in general. But yeah, I'd say it was another just like maybe another just B tier episode. Okay, Alone Together. This is one that I loved this episode when it first came out. It's like been about 7 years now since this episode came out, but it's probably one of my favorite episodes still. Not all time, but I'd say it's definitely up there. But it's just seeing like Stevani for the first time as a fusion. It was like such a cool thing, and I'll like never forget my like reaction when I first saw it because I definitely did not expect that. So yeah, I'd probably have to put this one like a S tier, just because it's like such a good episode. I just liked it a lot. Next one, An Indirect Kiss. This is the one with when Steven tells Connie the story about how Amethyst cracked her gem. This is another one that was just, it's more good because it was just funny. Like, I think that's going to be a reason for a lot of like season 1 episodes or like just like general episodes that are just funny because I just liked it. It was funny stuff because like, especially when Amethyst did like the reverse speaking thing, like they put the effort into that. That was pretty cool. And yeah, it wasn't like the best, but I probably have to also put it at B tier. Arcade Mania. This is one of the filler episodes that, while I do remember it, it just nothing really happens in it. It was the one where Garnet was playing that like Meat Mania arcade game, and then she got like stuck playing it because she got like hooked. But that wasn't really that interesting. I probably have to put it at like D tier. It just was boring. Next episode, Are You My Dad? This one was pretty good. It was from the Aquamarine arc. It was one of those episodes where it was cool, but it was like, whoa, it was a lot to like process, and it's like it leads up to the next episode. But I don't know. This one's probably like A. Next one, A Single Pale Rose. This is the episode that shocked like the entire fandom when it came out. I mean, a lot of people were kind of like a few people I would say caught on, but there were a lot who were like actually surprised to learn that Rose Quartz was Pink Diamond. And I will admit, I was like shocked. But I think this one has more element of like, this is crazy. I love this episode. It's in the best tier by far. Next episode, Back to the Barn. This is one of the episodes where it's like, I gotta think about it. Because if I remember correctly, Back to the Barn was like the episode with like Pearl and Peridot like fighting, I think. I think that was this episode. And I kind of enjoyed this one. It was cool to see like like, because this is back before Peridot was established as a crystal gem. She was just more of like helping them like build that robot to get the center of the Earth, stop the cluster. So I think it was a good episode. Doesn't have anything too special, but yeah. So I'd probably have to put it also at like B tier. I put it like right here. Alright. Next episode, Back to the Kindergarten. This is another episode where I just liked it a lot. I don't know why. There's nothing. I think it's just seeing like the Cherry Squad, Steven, Amethyst, and Peridot all together, and like again after the episode, the first had them. It was just nice. Like it's just nice to see something like an episode that you liked before, but like another part of it. But like this one was kind of more like it had a different feel to it, but still kept like a good vibe. So I'd probably have to put this one in A also. Next episode, Back to the Moon. Back to the Moon is another one of those episodes where it's just like, I don't know how to describe it. I think it was pretty good. I think it was the one where, I believe it was the one where Amethyst was like disguised as like Jasper to trick the rubies. And those rubies I like. I don't like all of them, but I like a good amount of them just because rubies in general are just like in the show, they're like a pretty cool like gem type. So yeah, but this one didn't really have too much going on. I'd probably have to put it at C. Next episode, Barnmates. This is one of those episodes that just like it stands out. Not too much, but it's definitely good enough to be like, yeah, I really like this episode. So I think like the main reason I liked it was just like cool to see like well, it was the first episode where we get to see like Lapis and Peridot like as like maybe like some sort of like at the time friends, because before they didn't really like each other. They were always like, especially Lapis. Lapis was like always on edge when it came to like meeting Peridot. Like she didn't really like her that much, but it was just cool because like that was right before the Rubies episode. So I'd have to give this one probably also in B, but like one of the definitely better than like all of these. Next episode, Beach City Drift. This was the one with Kevin and Stevonnie, I believe, when they were like racing. This one is not really that good. It just doesn't have too much going on in it. Like it was cool to see Stevonnie again, don't get me wrong, but besides that, it's just Kevin. He's not really an interesting character in the show. So yeah, it's not really that good of an episode. I probably have to put it like E tier. So Beach Party. This is the episode where the Crystal Gems invited the Pizza family over their house after they kind of destroyed their shop on accident, fighting that giant watermelon monster or whatever. And it was like cool because it was like at first it was just normal, like kind of like your average filler episode, and then it like went on more to like just like a regular battle, but it had like more to it. I don't know how to say it right. But I wouldn't say it's the best. I'd probably give it a C tier also. It was still good though. Next episode, Beta. Beta's it's a good episode. I feel like it leads up more to more of my favorite episodes. Because after Beta, the episodes just ramped up a lot. Like, in my opinion, I liked a lot of the episodes after that. It was more of like a build-up. So I'd say it's still good. It's just like, I don't know. But I'd probably have to put it like right here at B tier. Next episode is Bismuth. Bismuth is like still one of like the biggest episodes in the show, for obvious reasons, of course. It had a whole new character. It was like the first like main like fully half-hour episode. It was just like a big thing like at the time. It was cool to see a new character, and like we didn't see much of her in the show during that. Well, all we saw of her, she had a whole episode about her, and after that she kind of just like disappeared. But that made sense because at the end she was put back into her bubble because she tried to like kill Steven or something, and that was pretty not cool. But like she had a reason, but I don't know. I just like this episode still. I'd probably have to put it also like in S tier. Yeah. Next episode, Bubble Buddies. This is the first episode with Connie. It's also one of the first episodes in the series, and naturally, I just like this episode. Connie's one of like I want to say she's one of my favorite characters. She's still a really good character, and I don't know, she's just cool. And like seeing her and like Steven first interact in this episode also was like pretty cool. So I'd probably put this one in A tier. Next episode, Bubbles. Bubbles is one of those ones where it's like it's just crazy. It's like there's not really a lot going on, but at the same time there also is a lot going on. It's more focused on just Steven is trapped in space because the rubies pulled him out of the moon base, and now he's just floating throughout space and then he got surrounded with one of the rubies. And it's like they were like the ruby she tried to kill him because for the same reason as everyone else, at least one point in the show, they thought he was rose quartz. And I mean, it makes sense, like their reasons, but it's just like, okay, it's getting old. Stop trying to kill him for being rose quartz. Anyways, Bubbled is another really good episode. I'd probably have to put it also in like S tier. Buddy's Book is one of the only filler episodes that I just like. If I have the opportunity, I'll just skip it when watching the show over again, because it's just boring. Like there's nothing happening. They're just find this book, and that is the first time we find out about that. I forgot the name of it, but like I'll have to remember. If I remember later, I'll just tell you. But yeah, that's like it's kind of like a big episode, but then again, not really, because nothing really happens about it. So yeah. Oh, I just remembered. It's called the Palanquin. Yeah, that. Okay, but yeah, there's not really much going on in this episode besides that, so I'd probably put it in F because it's just boring. Next episode, Can't Go Back. I believe this was the one where Steven visited the moon base and when he first saw Lapis there, and fittingly, she can't go back. Originally, she was willing, and then something happened which changed her mind, and then she didn't. So I'd probably put the episode at like a C tier, just because while it did have a really good song in it, I feel like that was the only real highlight of the episode. And while we did get more Pearl, Rose Quartz, Shapeshift, like just all that like Pink Diamond stuff, foreshadowing, nothing else really happened. Like, this episode's good, but I wouldn't say it's one of the best. It's like, alright. Next episode, Catch and Release. Catch and Release is another one of those just like good episodes, because it was like, that's when like they first captured Peridot, of course. And like during that episode, like, well, she was bubbled at first. Steven did let her go, and that was cool because then we get to see more Peridot. And like at first, I thought she was gonna like try to kill him, and she did, kinda, not really. And then, but then quickly, like they like weren't trying to really kill each other. They were trying to more like press Peridot for questions, because she mentioned something about the cluster, and then they were just trying to find more about that because they knew it could be dangerous, but they didn't know exactly what it was. So I'd probably put this episode in like A tier, just because Catfingers. Catfingers is the first like more serious episode, I'd have to say, because it was at first it was just like, oh, funny, Steven can turn his fingers into cats. That's pretty cool. And then it got really like sad at the end because he thought he was gonna die, and it was like, oh my god. And it was just crazy. Like, it's hard to like explain these episodes really well because I like kind of like suck at explaining stuff. But I don't know, this was just like cool because it was like funny at first, and then it turns around, like the mood of the whole mood of the episode just changes. So it's like, this is a really good episode in my opinion. Put it like right here. Next episode, Change Your Mind, the series finale. Okay, this, no questions at all. This is obviously going to be in the best tier, just because well, first of all, it's the longest episode in the show, the full 45 minutes. Second, this episode was just crazy. We saw so much new stuff just within like almost an hour, and it was just like, first watching it was a lot to take in, but it was like, oh my god, after watching it, it's like you just want to watch it again. It's like, it's all worth it. It was just so exciting. And it was like, while it was like the end of like the main series, it was just like, oh my god, this is so cool. It's like, you wanted more of this, but like, you knew you weren't going to get more of this. It's just like, okay, I don't know how to describe it. It's just like that exciting feeling. Okay, next episode, Cheeseburger Backpack. This is the episode where they put Steven on that mission where he has to save the Sea Spire and he brings goes to bring that thing in his cheeseburger backpack, and then he messes it up, And then, yeah, that's it. But I don't see this episode really that interesting. It's kind of just like, meh. I think, like, the funniest thing, I don't know the funniest thing that came out. Nothing really was like, there were some funny parts in this episode, but it's just not that memorable. Next episode, Chilated. This is another episode. This is the episode where we like saw Malachite again. Not like actually Malachite, but more in the shape of like a dream that Steven had. And it ended up turning out to be like true because I guess Steven can just do that in his dreams now or whatever. But yeah, it was just pretty cool to see that because it was like it just started with like going to sleep and like dreaming and then like we did it was just funny. I don't like it wasn't like the Malachi part, it was like more serious. But like some of the other stuff, like the earlier dreams, it was like, okay, that's kinda funny, I won't lie. But yeah, I'd probably have to put this episode at like probably a B tier, honestly. Next episode, Coach Steven. Coach Steven is one of the better episodes of season 1. Like, this was the first episode we saw Sugalite, and this was also an episode with one of like my favorite songs in the show, Strong in the Real Way. And honestly, it just has like 2 really cool things in one episode. So yeah, I'd probably put it like an S, honestly. Yeah. Next episode, Crack the Whip. Crack the Whip was one of those. I think this was the episode where it was like, I think Stefani came back in this episode, I believe. It was the one where they had to fight Jasper and those like 2 other corrupted Jaspers, and then Amethyst got poofed, and it was like that was mainly the main idea of the episode, without getting into too much detail. It was a good episode, I will say, but nothing. Well, we did see more of like how Amethyst like truly felt. That was like, and we did see Stefani, and that's always something to look forward to. It's just like it's not really that memorable of an episode compared to all the other like 150 plus episodes actually, but I'd still say it's good. So I'd probably put it right there. Next episode, Cry for Help. This is the first episode with Sardonyx. And was this a crazy episode? Because I remember, like, if I remember correctly, they, like, previewed this one at, like, Comic-Con. And, like, I saw the preview, like, and I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool. Because it was, like, a new fusion. And that's, like, insane. It's always something to look forward to. And, like, we knew there was going to be, like, something new because they had the Steven bomb for this episode. And it was just, like, I didn't expect it to be that cool. But I was still, like, amazed. So I'd probably put this episode at, like, A tier. Next episode, Dewey Wins. This is another one of those filler episodes that just, like, has completely, like, forgettable, honestly. So, yeah, nothing really happens. Like, of course there's a new mayor, because Mayor Dewey is the old mayor, and contrary to the title, he actually loses, and then Nanaflaw is the new mayor. So, but besides that, it's just a filler episode, like, nothing really happens. I'd probably put this one, like, right here. Next episode, Dugout. This is another one of the ones that was leading up to the Aquamarine arc, and it's, I believe, where they went to when they went to the Funland after hours with Steven, Connie, and Connie's dad, because there was, like, apparently some, like, an intruder there or something. And then they found that it was just Onion, but then it really wasn't Onion. Onion was just there at a bad time and at a bad place. Well, he's at the wrong place at the wrong time. And then as it ended up, Aquamarine and Topaz were there, and they were the one causing trouble, but they didn't find that out until like 3 episodes later. So it was building up to something, but nothing too much happened in this episode until like the very, very end. So I'd probably have to put it like in D tier. Next episode, Drop Beat Dad. This is another one of those ones where it's like, it's alright, but nothing really happens. It's just boring, kinda. I'd probably have to put it in D tier also. Earthlings, okay. Earthlings is automatically gonna go in like the best tier, just because it was the first episode with my favorite character in the whole show. Obviously, Smoky Quartz. I was so, like, amazed when I first saw this, because a lot of us didn't know Steven could actually fuse with gems. At the time, we thought because we knew he could fuse with Connie, but that was all we'd seen. Smoky Quartz was the first, like, fusion he had with an actual crystal gem. So it was really exciting at the time. So yeah, this is definitely going in the best tier. Next episode, Escapism. In the last few episodes of the entire series, the last thing I expected was another watermelon episode. Okay, we had our watermelon episode with like Watermelon Steven, and then I forgot the title, but the one before Gem Drill, the one with Alexandrite fighting Malachite. Yeah, that one. Those were like the two main watermelon episodes in the show. I did not expect one to be the second to last episode in the whole series. And I wouldn't say I was disappointed, because if I'd say my favorite thing that came out of this episode was the song at the very end. It's one of my favorite songs in the whole show. So I wouldn't say it's one of the best, but I'd probably have to still put it in A tier, just because it was such like it's just a good episode. Like, it's better than I thought it was gonna be. I think it's better than I thought I was gonna be expecting based on my expectations of a watermelon episode. But yeah. Next episode is Familiar. This is another one that was close to the end of the series. This is one where he first got into really Homeworld in general, and that's like one of the first times we actually saw it. And I think this episode was like those little like pebbles things or whatever. And it wasn't something like, it was crazy, honestly, because it was like, whoa, this is like a whole new place to like everyone, basically. Like everyone watching at home. So it was pretty cool, but I wouldn't say it's one of the best of this series finale, but it's still like a solid B tier. So I put it right there. Next episode, Friendship. This is another one with Peridot just trolling the Crystal Gems back before they were friends or whatever. And yeah, it's just like the average Peridot episode from like early season 2. It's funny. I wouldn't say it's the best, but I'd definitely say it's still funny. I'd probably have to put it like right here in B tier. Fribo. Fribo is another one of those episodes where it's just nothing happens in it. Like, we just see one of those fly monsters, and we do see these things that are capable of possessing like a whole object, but they never do anything with that ever again in the whole show. It's just nothing happens. I'd probably put this one on F tier. Okay, next episode, Full Disclosure. The first episode of season 2, right after the events of Jailbreak. Jailbreak is still one of the craziest, best episodes, just because it was like so. Jailbreak is one of those. Let me stop talking about Jailbreak until we get there. But I'll talk about Full Disclosure. It's a pretty good episode based. It's like continuation. It did have a pretty nice song, but again, I don't think much happens. So I probably put it in like C tier. Fusion Cuisine, the first episode with Alexandrite, and also has a somewhat like subtle foreshadowing that Garnet could be or is a fusion. And it was not a bad episode. I'd say I liked it. It was cool to see. I'm not lying. It was cool to see Alexandrite for the first time. But besides that, I'd say it was a pretty good episode, honestly. But yeah, so probably a B tier. Future Boys Ultron, yeah, this is easily worst tier. This one is just so boring. Nothing happens in it. And this episode just has no reason to exist, honestly. Next episode, Future Vision. Future Vision is the one where we first saw Garnet had Future Vision. Very fitting for the title. It was a pretty cool episode because it was like, we get to see how she can literally basically, well, she can't like see the future. She can more of just see a lot of outcomes and predict which was most likely. So, but it's still pretty accurate, I'd say. So definitely a good episode. Probably like right here. Next episode is Garnet's Universe. This is another one. Well, first of all, it's not even a canon episode. It's just one of those like random episodes. But this episode is just really forgettable. I'd probably have to put this one in F tier too, honestly. Like, it's just boring. Next episode, Gemcation. This is the one where they took a vacation to that random like house or whatever. It's kind of like an Airbnb. But it was like some random cabin house or whatever in the middle of nowhere. And if I'm gonna be honest, out of any episode from the original series, this one is like the closest we can get to like a future episode. At least that's how I've always seen it. So honestly, it just wasn't that interesting. Like, future episodes are pretty good, But I feel like this is like a future episode, but like kind of worse. But like still part of the main series, of course. But yeah. So I'd probably have to put this one in like E tier. It's just not interesting. Next episode, Gem Drill. Gem Drill is the episode where Steven and Peridot had a drill, and they dug to the core of the Earth in order to stop the cluster from destroying the whole Earth. And while they weren't successful in destroying the cluster, they had somehow managed to bubble the entire thing, which I was honestly amazed at that by the time when I saw that. But this is definitely an episode that is like just crazy. Definitely put an A tier. Next episode, Gem Glow, the first episode of Steven Universe, turned 8 years old today, which is why I'm actually streaming this today of any day. But yeah, Gem Glow is one of it's just for the first episode, it's what you expect from a first episode of a cartoon. It's not amazing, but it's still really good because it's like you get all the main exposition where it's just like learning more about characters, certain what you might expect from future episodes, such as like when they have to fight these like corrupted monsters or whatever. And it's cool. This one they fought the Centipedal, which later turned out to be Nephrite. But it was just cool because it was like you get to learn about these characters that you'd be spending nearly 6 years with if you watch the whole show from start to finish when it aired. But it's just a good episode because it's more of one of those lighthearted episodes, honestly. And I like that. I'd put it like right here. Next episode, Gem Harvest. If I'm gonna be honest, this is the only episode that's like a half-hour special that's a filler episode. Like, when I first saw this, let's see, half-hour special, I thought it would be like, oh, it's gonna be something like major. All it is we get Steven's Uncle Andy to randomly fly in, and then they have this whole like feast, like they have like this whole meal, like a dinner Thanksgiving type thing, and then they try to like have all this like stuff to like make up for Uncle Andy's lost time with Greg, and it was alright, but for a half-hour's episode, I didn't expect the filler, so I was kind of disappointed. But I'm not gonna say I can't really expect much, but you can't change that. So I probably have to put this one as a C tier. Gem Heist. This was the episode where they went into the human zoo, and yeah. Oh my god, I suck at this so much. Anyways, I think this was the first episode where we saw Holly Blue Agate. She's honestly, I don't know if she's a good character or a bad character, because like I didn't like her, but then it was like she was kind of cool at the same time. But I don't know, like I'm just like opinion on Holly Blue Agate is really like conflicted. But then this is the episode where like they had to like have this whole elaborate plan in order to successfully break into the zoo, and they did. And while it didn't go completely 100% how they wanted to, some things worked in their favor, some things didn't. Mostly it didn't. And then they had to end up breaking Steven out of the zoo in later episodes. But yeah, I'd probably have to put this episode in like A tier. Next episode, Gem Hunt. I believe this is the one where Steven, Connie, and Pearl went out to the snow and they had to hunt those like corrupted Jaspers. It was an alright episode. Honestly, nothing too much happened. I'd probably put it like in C tier. But it was cool to see Jasper again, I will admit that. But that's like about it. That's all this episode really has. Next episode, Giant Woman. The first episode with Opal. Fusion of Amethyst and Pearl. That was still one of my favorite episodes, because that's the first time we really see fusion in action. It's like, it was a really cool idea. I know it's not original, not completely original, but it's still awesome, because it's just like, it's such a fun idea. And it's just like, yeah, I definitely have to put this one in like S tier episodes. Also because Opal is just one of my favorite characters in the show, so it's natural that I'd put that so high. Next episode, Greg the Babysitter. This one is just where Greg and Rose had to babysit Sour Cream, I believe. And they kind of did not do the best job at all of it. And it kind of went really bad, but nothing too bad happened in the end. It's just like, it was so funny because it's like, what are you doing? But yeah, so I'd probably put this one in like B tier also. You notice I have a lot of B tier episodes. Mainly because it's like, they're episodes that are like good, but not like incredible. So Yeah, oh my god, I still have a lot more episodes. Okay. Historical Friction, I believe this was the episode with Amethyst and Vidalia, if I remember correctly. This episode was cool because it was cool to see interaction between two different characters that you haven't really seen too much interaction between them before. But besides that, I want to say too much happens, but it's still a solid episode. So I'd put it in C tier. Next episode, Hit the Dime. This is the episode where they had to trick the Rubies with a game of baseball things. And it actually worked because they tricked them into going to Neptune somehow, which is pretty funny. But yeah, I definitely say this is one of the episodes that I liked more throughout like the whole show. Not because of it was important or like crazy something crazy happened, but just because it was one of the more funny or like lighthearted episodes that's still very enjoyable. So I'd have to put this one in like A tier, definitely. Probably like right here. Okay, next episode, Horror Club. This is one where they, Stephen, Lars, and Sadie went to Ronaldo's lighthouse, and they watched like the scary movies, and then the house was possessed. And yeah, it's just like your typical Halloween episode, except it didn't even come out on Halloween, so I don't know what they were doing with the scheduling, but it is what it is. Anyways, it's just not really that good an episode. An episode with like that has like Ronaldo as like a main character in that episode, it's just not interesting. Because I'm pretty sure, especially because there's some episodes where Ronaldo is a main character in the episode, and it's still, but there's also other main characters. But the strictly Ronaldo-based episodes are always the worst ones. This one isn't one of those, but I think it's pretty close. So it's definitely like an E tier, honestly. It's just not interesting. Next up, House Guest. This is the episode where I didn't like Greg for a while, just because of this episode. He indirectly caused Steven to lose his powers, just because he wanted to spend more time with him, and that was kind of not a good move. It was just like, why? It's like, he was doing so good, and then you messed it up. So I'd probably have to put this one in like D tier, just because it's good. It's not that good. There was some parts that were like slightly enjoyable. Like there was a good song in this episode, but that's about the only really good thing in this episode. Next episode, I Am My Mom. This is the one where I was like shocked, just because the last thing I expected was Steven to give himself up to Aquamarine and Topaz, go to Homeworld, and because he felt that someone had to pay for the crimes that his mother, Rose Quartz, did, even though there weren't real crimes, because we later found out in a single pill Rose that Rose is just Pink Diamond. But a lot of people didn't know that at the time, so a lot of people were like as shocked as I was. But it's definitely one of those episodes that has a lot of like, shock value. So yeah, A tier. Island Adventure. This is the episode where Stephen, Lars, and Sadie got trapped on that island, Mask Island, and they had to like fight off that thing. First, it was just more survival, and then they had to like fight off some monster. But besides that, it's a solid episode. Nothing too much happens, so I'd probably have to put it in like C tier. Next episode, It Could Have Been Great. This is the one where all the Crystal Gems and Peridot went to the moon base, and they tried because they... See, I need to watch these episodes again because I actually cannot remember a lot of stuff from this episode. There's only two things I remember, is that they were like on the Diamond computer or whatever, and then they were looking at like the Earth, but like what would happen if it was a finished colony. And then also that Peridot took that Diamond communicator from the thing when the rest of them weren't looking. But from what I remember, this was a pretty good episode. It's definitely like B tier. Next episode, Jailbreak. Here it is. This is the one I was talking about earlier, but when I was supposed to be talking about, full disclosure. This is one of those episodes where it's like you just had to be there when it first aired. The Return in Jailbreak is like the event of a it's just there's nothing like it watching for the first time. Like you can watch it over and over again however many times you want, but nothing will be like watching it the first time. It's just like a crazy episode. There's a lot happening. It's the episode with one of the biggest like plot twists at the time when we first found out Garnet was a fusion, and it's just a really good episode. Definitely like best tier. Next episode, Joking Victim. This is definitely one of the more forgettable episodes. It's, I believe this was the one where Steven was working at like the Big Donut for like part to like cover for Lars, and then Lars was just faking like breaking his leg or something. So then they pranked Lars, and then that was basically the episode. It's definitely like D tier. It's good, but it's not that good at the same time. Next episode, Joyride. This is another one where it's like it was cool because we first found like the pod that like Peridot had, but it's nothing much happens. So I'd probably put it in like C tier. Jungle Moon. This is another amazing episode. We saw Stevonnie stranded on an island in the middle of space. They had to survive without dying, and this was the first episode where we saw Pink Diamond, and that was pretty insane. Like the last thing, I didn't really expect to see Pink Diamond because it was like, whoa, it was just crazy. Like this was like, and then eventually, well, because the reason they were trapped there is because they were on the ship with the off colors, but then something got struck down, and then Lars and the off colors, and it ended up saving Stevonnie. But it was just a really good episode. I put this one in like S tier. Next one, Keep Beach City Weird. This is a Ronaldo episode. I don't need to say anymore. Worst tier. Keeping It Together. I believe this was right after the Sardonyx episode. With was it this episode? Wait, let me check because I don't want to like. Yeah, this was the episode where like, oh, this was the episode with those like, with the forced fusions or whatever, when they had those like all those like small bits of the gems that were like trying to form in the forced fusions. This is a good episode, but I would like, it's just not that it's like you learn more about like how fusion works exactly, but besides that, it's nothing too much happens. Kevin Party. It's a Kevin episode. It's not a good episode. It's not as bad as a Ronaldo episode, but it's definitely comparable. I put this one in the F tier. Keystone Motel. If I remember correctly, Keystone Motel was the episode that caused people to go to an actual place on like Google Maps called Keystone Motel and spam like negative reviews. That was pretty bad, I won't lie. Like, it was kind of funny for like the first like few minutes, and then it was like messed up because it's like, bro, stop. But then the actual episode, it was cool because it was a Ruby and Sapphire episode, and we see them like going around the hotel. They were like mad at each other because like of they were mad at each other more because they couldn't come to an agreement on how they felt about like Pearl tricking them into fusing into Sardonyx. So they were like apart for a while, and then they ended up going to that diner, literally called the world's best diner or something, and they like eventually made up because they found out how it affected Steven, and they didn't want that. So yeah, it was. I definitely say it was a good episode though. I put it in like B tier. Okay, next episode, Keika's Pizza Delivery Service. This is another episode where it's just filler, but not really in a good way. It's definitely really really forgettable. I'd probably put it in like right here. Next episode, Kindergarten Kid. This is one of those. I believe this was the first episode of season 4. It was kind of funny because it was like Steven and Peridot were trying to stop this like corrupted gem, and they kept failing and failing, and yeah, just shows like that or just episodes in general. They're just funny because it's like you see the characters trying to like stop something and they keep failing. It's just funny. So yeah, I'd probably put this one in B tier. Next episode, Know Your Fusion. This is an amazing episode. I don't even say why. It's an episode with Smoky Quartz. That should be enough explanation, considering, yeah. And Sardonyx 2 was in this episode, and it was more of like a talk show episode, where I was like trying to more find out about Smoky Quartz's fusion, because they were a new character at the time, because the last time we'd seen them was Earthlings, and that was also the first time we'd seen them. So I accidentally just picked up a random map, bro. Okay, what the hell did I put it at? I literally like fuck. Dude. Okay, there. S tier. Yeah, definitely this one's an S tier. Know Your Fusion. I probably put it like right here. Lars' head. This episode was pretty crazy, I must say. I believe this was the one. I don't know if this was the episode, but I think this is the episode right after Lars like died and then came back to life. So it was like, whoa. And then he was like pink now. And he has that same effect that Lion has, which also gives us more of an explanation on how Lion is pink and has like a portal in his mane. But with Lars, the portal was like in his hair. So yeah. I'd say it was a pretty good episode. Like, yeah. Lars and the Cool Kids. Now, I liked season 5 Lars the best. Earlier Lars episodes, like Lars and the Cool Kids, they're just not interesting. Because Lars wasn't really being a good character at that time, so I probably have to put this in like D tier. Lars of the Stars is one of the season 5 Lars episodes, which definitely was better. I don't know if this is... I probably have to say this one's better than Lars, just because it had more like an element of surprise, because like out of nowhere they're just like on the ship in the middle space, when literally the last time we saw them they were stranded on Homeworld in this like kindergarten area. So yeah, but I definitely say this one was like a really good episode. Laser Light Cannon. This is the other episode aside Gem Glow that came out exactly 8 years ago today. Around this time too, actually, because at least in my time zone it aired at like 8 p.m. So for me it's like 8:13 right now. So it actually would have been airing right now exactly 8 years ago. So that's pretty funny. Anyways, Laser Light Cannon. I'd probably say I like this one just a bit more than Gem Glow, but it's still probably B tier. Because like you can't really... I think this was actually the first episode ever made. It was actually made before Gem Glow, I believe. But this one's a really good episode. It's not the best, but it's still good. Last one out of Beach City. This is one of those episodes... This is probably one of the funnier episodes in the whole show. This is the one where Steven, Amethyst, and Pearl tried to go to that rock concert, and then there was like that mystery girl. And then they were like trying to follow her, trying to find out where she was going. And then it was just funny because it was like... It's hard to explain. You have to like watch it to like really understand it like fully. Because like if I explain it, it probably won't sound as funny. But yeah, this one's really good. Next episode, Lakes Remir to Homeworld. This is the episode after they took like, what, a 5-month hiatus in between from the last episode to this. It finally gave us some closure on the ending of Reunited, and it was pretty crazy because it was like, whoa. It was just like, so Reunited kind of ended on a cliffhanger, and it was like, it just gave us like that closure that we needed, if that makes sense. I'd probably put this one in like A tier. Next is Letters to Lars. This is one where Lars literally just reads a letter that Steven gave him, but it's like more of like experiences on back at home in Beach City, because Lars is still in space, right? So yeah, I'd probably have to put this one in probably C tier, just because it's, while it is a season 5 Lars episode, it's just not that interesting. So yeah. Lion 2 the movie. Here we go to the many Lion episodes of the show. Lion 2 the movie. While it is, I did like the Lion episodes, honestly. While they weren't the best, I'd say this one's just, it's just good. So I'd probably put this one like right here in B tier. Next episode, Lion 3. This Lion 3 straight to video is my favorite of the Lion episodes, because it's the first time we see that. I believe it is the first time we see that videotape with Rose Quartz, and the one, yeah, that's the first time we see the video, because it was hidden in Lion's mane, and that's a tape that we ended up seeing a lot throughout, well, at least like after that. So I'd probably put this one in A tier. Lion 4 alternate ending. This is the one where they find that like Pink Diamond ship, except they don't know it's the ship, and so they don't care about it, because Steven finds the tape that says Nora on it, and we find out there's nothing really too much with the episode. It's just literally shows that if Steven was a girl, he would have been named Nora. That's it. So yeah, there's nothing really too much of this episode. I probably have to put it in like D tier. So it's the best out of all these, but still not that good. Log date 7152. This is the episode where we see all of Peridot's recordings in her little tape recorder. This is definitely one of the funnier episodes because it's like we get to learn more about her as a character, and that was pretty cool. But it's just funny. Love Letters is an episode where anytime I can watch the show, I could skip Love Letters and not care less. It's just not interesting at all. Maid of Honor, the return of Bismuth after like 1.5 seasons. That's something that was like really cool when it happened. It was the episode right before Reunited, and everything just leading up to Reunited is just good because it's like Maid of Honor is probably my favorite episode that leads up to Reunited, along with the question, which we'll get to later. But it's just one of those like it's just an episode where like you know it's building up, but it's still good. If that makes any sense, I'd probably have to put it like right here. Okay, next episode, Marble Madness. This is the one with like when Peridot, which we didn't know is Peridot, and she just keeps sending down those marbles, like trying to like rebuild the homeworld warp, and they're not really too successful. And then they actually do succeed when they finally decide to follow it instead of destroying it. So it was a nice episode. Not too much happened, but I wouldn't mind watching it again. But I probably have to put it right here. Maximum Capacity. This is the episode where like Amethyst like just did like that like super messed up thing, and yeah, that's it. I didn't really like Amethyst too much. Like she was still, I still like her older episodes, but like in that episode, I absolutely hated her. Like, dude, it's like why? Like she literally like. I'm not gonna get into it too much. Okay, this episode is probably like a C tier though. I'm gonna be honest. Message received. This is the episode with the funny. This is the episode where we first see Yellow Diamond, and where Peridot outright calls her a Claude. That was pretty awesome. I won't lie. Definitely an S tier episode. It's just like a classic. You can't go wrong with this episode. Mindful Education. I don't need to explain why. This is one of the best episodes in the show. Definitely right there. Mindful Education. We see Stefan Egan, and it has. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's definitely like top 3 songs in the entire show. Here Comes the Thought. That song is just so like relaxing. It's like unbelievable. It's just an awesome song. It's definitely the highlight of the episode. The episode does have some more like it does like have a mood change later because it comes more like serious later. Still, I mean it is really serious throughout the whole episode, but yeah, you know what I mean. Next episode, Mirror Gem. This is the first episode with Lapis. So yeah, it's an A tier episode. Lapis is one of my favorite characters in the show. She's just like awesome. For this while where I didn't really like her that much, but she redeemed herself later on, don't worry. But this episode, I'd say it's really cool because it was like the first major like event in the show where it was like, yeah. So I'd probably have to put this one like right here. Next episode, Monster Buddies. This is the one with where Steven never let out of her bubble again, but she wasn't like fully uncorrupted or whatever. She was like half corrupted, if that. Oh wait, no. Was that this one? Because there's like I know there's 2 monster episodes, but like I forgot which one was which. I think Monster Reunion was the. I think Monster Buddies was like Monster Buddies was the one where she was like on her like the more corrupted version, and then Monster Reunion was like the later one where she was like less corrupted or whatever. So yeah, I'd probably have to put this one in like probably like C tier honestly. Like yeah, and then I'd probably put this one in like B tier because this one I like more. Yeah. Okay, Mr. Greg, the episode with still one of the best songs in the show. It's Over, Isn't It? this episode actually has like 6 songs in it in like 11 minutes, which is pretty crazy. And yeah, it's definitely a music-based episode, which is easy to tell when you watch it. But yeah, I definitely like this episode. It's probably S tier, honestly. Also, not only does it have It's Over, Isn't It, which is a really good song, it also has Both of You, which is another really, really good song. So yeah. Nightmare Hospital. This is another episode that has to do with those, like, force fusions. And we see them in the hospital that Connie's mom works at. And they do end up defeating them, but then it's a more of like a episode based off of the relationship between Connie and her mother and how she still hasn't told her a lot. But yeah, so I'd probably have to put this one at B tier just because it was like more of a different, it had a different mood compared to like other episodes around that time. But yeah, like right here. Next episode, Now We're Only Falling Apart. This was the episode following, I believe this was the episode right after Single Pill Rose. And you can imagine how everyone's not only people watching the show, but how the characters in the show reacted to finding out that Rose Quartz is Pink Diamond, because they didn't know either. The only person to know in the show was Pearl. And then she told everyone, well, not everyone, but like the Crystal Gems, and it caused like this whole thing. But I'd probably say this is a really good episode. Yeah. Ocean Gem, the follow-up to Mirror Gem. I already gave you my explanation on Mirror Gem, and I say this one is just slightly better, but they're both really good for like the same reasons. Off Colors, this is the episode where Lars died and then came back to life. Also, we got to see the Off Colors for the first time, which is Rutal Twins, Rhodonite, Fluorite, and Pat Bradshaw. They're pretty cool characters. I'd say my favorite out of them is probably Rhodonite, but that's just me. But yeah, this was definitely a solid episode. I put this one like right here. Next episode, Onion Friend. An Onion-based episode. It's not the best, considering I don't really like Onion as a character. I'd probably put this one in like this E tier. And then Onion Gang is honestly even worse. This one is like worst tier. I can skip this anytime and not care at all. Onion Trade. Why are there so many Onion episodes? Onion Trade. This one is also not really that good, honestly. It's just forgettable. On the Run. This is the episode where... this is a prime example of a Stevie Universe episode that's like, oh, funny, hey, let's do this, cool idea thing. And then it gets all sad. Like, it's... just the mood completely changes. But I'd probably have to say this is definitely worthy of being like an S tier episode. Open Book. This is the one where Steven takes Connie into Rose's room, and then they try to like recreate the ending of their book because they didn't like the ending. Well, at least Connie didn't. And then But then Steven ends up losing Connie and somehow actually makes another fake Connie, and then it's like a fight, and then yeah, Connie's basically fighting herself, except she's not. It's hard to explain, but it's a good episode, but I don't think too much happens. I definitely put this one like right here. Next episode, Political Power. This is an episode that's just not. It's the episode right before like the return and jailbreak. I don't know why they put this one honestly before. Like at the end, it does have more to add on, but like most of the episode is just not really that interesting. I'd probably put it like right here. Next episode, Pool Hopping. This is the one where another episode about Garnet's future vision and more, but not really more about future vision, but how she's learned to like that future vision is everything and how she should also like take into consideration like what her own predictions, not counting future vision. So I'd say this is a good episode. It's more of just like a Garnet and Steven episode. But yeah, it's solid. Raising the Barn. This is one of my least favorite episodes ever, counting future episodes. Something about this, I don't know what it is, but something about this episode, I just hate it so much. Like, I actually got mad when I watched this. I think it's more of the fact that this episode, at the time, ruined Lapis for me. Like, she ended up somehow later redeeming herself, but this episode just, like, ruined her as a character for me. But yeah, so it wasn't the best. Next episode, Reformed. This is like a really good episode. Just it's one of the more funny episodes because like Amethyst literally got poofed like 8,000 times in this episode just to reform, and then like kept doing these like weird forms or whatever. It's definitely funny. It's not one of the best episodes, but it's more higher just because of it's funny. Restaurant Wars, another episode that, if you ask me, has no reason to exist at all. It's not bad. It's just kind of pointless, honestly. I'd put it like in E tier. Reunited. This is the best episode in the whole series. No questions at all. If you've seen the episode or at least heard, if you've heard anything about, you just need to like watch at least like a few clips from this episode because this whole episode is just a journey. It's like incredible from start to finish. And while it does get because it starts off with like, well, remember how I said there was a bunch of episodes building up to Reunited. This is like the big episode. This is the episode where after this episode they went on like a 5 month hiatus. And honestly, considering how hard they had to fight to get this episode to actually air on Cartoon Network, because it had the first like lesbian wedding on a kids program, especially on Cartoon Network, that was hard to get on the channel. I mean, not like on their TV channel or whatever. It was. I'd honestly say, while this episode kind of did cost like the entire show its future as a result, I wouldn't say it was worth it. If I had to change it, I honestly would rather have like more, but this was still an incredible episode. But yeah, next episode, Rising Tides, Crashing Skies. We went from Reunited, one of the best episodes, probably actually like the best episode in the whole show, to a Ronaldo episode. That's a pretty bad downgrade. Definitely a worst tier episode. Oh my god, another Ronaldo episode. Yeah, worst tier. Room for Ruby. This episode has some of my favorite frames from the whole show, just because it's just funny. This is an episode where it's like there's this random Ruby that comes to Earth from like space, and she tries to be like friendly, and they actually believe her because she like just if you look at her in the episode, she looks friendly. I would believe it, and then she ends up betraying them, which a lot of people, well Steven and Peridot, they were surprised. Lapis was not so surprised. She knew something was wrong the whole time. But she was telling Steven and Peridot, but like they didn't believe her. But yeah, I'd say it's a good episode. Rose's Room, the first episode with Rose's Room. This is the one where Room managed to somehow build like a whole town, and it was crazy because, yeah. Next episode, Rose's Scabbard. This is the one where Pearl was kind of like just being so like unnecessary, like rude, because it's like, why? She was just like putting all this stuff on Steven. It's like it's not Steven's fault. It's just like, stop being an asshole, literally. I'd probably have to put this one on like B tier, just because it's like it's cool to see the ending was cool, but the rest of the episode I'd say this episode's good. It's just like Pearl, stop being an asshole. Sadie's song. This is the only memorable thing from this episode is the actual song. Like, I'm not even joking. It's like a D tier episode. Sadie Killer. This is an even worse episode. I like Sadie as a character. It's just the episodes about her are just not interesting. Like, she's good as she's good when the episode isn't based like fully focused on her. But yeah, I probably honestly have to put this one in F tier. Same Old World. This is the episode where Lapis like flies Steven over like the whole, like not the whole planet, but like different spots near them. They see Empire City, and they also see like where the homeworld warp is at, and then it goes to like this flashback thing. I definitely say this is like an A tier episode though. Say Uncle. I don't even need to explain why this episode sucks. It's literally Uncle Grandpa crossover. Secret Team. It's a forgettable episode. That's basically it. It's definitely D tier. Serious Steven, this is another episode that's just meh. It has like it's like why does this even exist?
Like, I can see why it exists, but it's like, it's just not memorable. Shirt Club. Another episode that's just not memorable at all. Okay. Definitely put this one like right here. So Many Birthdays. This is the episode where it was like, wait, I fucked it up. Okay, this is the episode where it was like kind of crazy. It was like crazy at the end. The rest of the episode was normal. And then the ending just gets you. It's like, oh my god. Yeah. So I'd probably put this one like right here. But then again, like I kind of like these episodes more. I don't know. Put this one like right there for now. Space Race. This is the episode where Pearl tries to take Steven to space and somehow accidentally almost kills him. So I think the episode was like it was nice to watch, but then the ending was like kind of sad. None of them died. It's just like what are you doing? Pearl definitely does not make like the smartest choices in the show, and it's pretty obvious. Another thing is that she kind of like sucks at lying. So yeah, probably B tier episode. Steven's birthday. It was good, and then baby Steven came in and started crying, which is like so annoying. I'd probably put this one honestly in like C tier. It's just not. It's an alright episode. Definitely could have been better. Steven's line. This is the first episode with Lion. It's just a classic episode. Like, I'd probably put this one like right here or so. Cause it's good. Like it's classic. But it can't compare to like some of the other episodes. Steven and the Stevens, this is the episode where Steven literally made a band with just copies of himself. The songs weren't that good in this episode, honestly. I had one of my least favorite songs in the whole show. Big Fat Zucchini or whatever it's called, I think. It's just not good at all. Steven floats, this is where he jumps, and then is literally falling down for the whole episode because he jumped so high. Like, he didn't even jump that high. It's just he's falling at an incredibly slow speed. So, considering the whole episode was just him falling, like, all I did see he had a new power. The episode was just him falling, literally. It's like, it's alright, but it's not that interesting. Steven's dream. This is the episode where he dreams about that, like, palanquin thing. Because he saw it in that book from the Buddy's Book episode. And it's like, he keeps, like, crying in it whenever he wakes up. But it's not even him crying, it's actually, like, Blue Diamond's tears or however that works. And then Greg ends up getting captured. And, yeah, they have to go save him now. But that's in the later episodes. So, but yeah, this is definitely, like, a B tier episode. Next episode, Steven the Sword Fighter. This is the episode where Pearl gets poofed and is, like, traumatic for Steven, which later shows in future during the Growing Pains flashbacks. But, yeah, this is, I think, a good episode. Because it was, like, more of, like, a story. It's telling you rather than, like, funny, considering the average episode in Season 1 was, like, more, like, supposed to be, like, comedic or whatever. But, yeah, I'd probably put this one, like, right here. Next episode, Steven versus Amethyst. This episode, I don't really need to describe it. It's literally just the title. Steven and Amethyst have, like, a battle because they were trying to see who was actually worse at fighting. They were literally fighting to see who was worse. Which, it doesn't make sense on the surface, but yeah, I'd say it's a good episode. Storm in the Room. This is another episode with Rose's room. And it's where we see how Steven would actually imagine Rose herself if she were still here, and then it doesn't end up too well. But, yeah, it's a B tier also. Story for Steven. This is the episode where, this episode has the flashback with, like, the worst song in the whole show. I believe it's this episode. Oh wait, no, it's not this episode. It's the other episode. We'll get to it later. But this was not... bro, I keep mixing up flashback episodes. Okay. This episode is good. Honestly. Yeah. This is the episode where it shows how Rose and Greg first met. Stuck Together. It's a fitting title because Steven and Lars are literally stuck together inside of the fused topaz. It gets kind of like emotional. But yeah, so I'd probably have to put it in like A tier. Because it's a really good episode. I liked a lot of Season 5 episodes, definitely. But yeah. Super Watermelon Island. This is the other watermelon episode I was talking about with Alexandrite and Malachite fighting. Back when I was talking about like Gem Drill earlier. But yeah, Super Watermelon Island is a really good episode, honestly. It has like a really cool fight scene. I think that's the main part I like about this episode. So I definitely have to put like an A tier. Sworn to the Sword. I believe this is the episode where Pearl was teaching Connie the sword fight. It was definitely a crazy episode. It has a really good song, but it's like the stuff Pearl was teaching Connie, it's like, no, you're not supposed to, like, no. It's like, okay, you can teach her to sword fight, but you're teaching her all this, like, demoralizing shit. It's like, no, that's not cool. Okay, but Sworn to the Sword, I'd say, it's kind of really good, honestly, yeah. That will be all. The last episode in the zoo arc, this is where they break Steven and Greg out of the human zoo. And like Holly Blue Agate thinks she's not even aware of it, even though she's like the main person in charge of her. And then she does find out at the end of the episode, but then they like kick her ass. And then yeah. So I'd put this one definitely in like maybe even S tier, honestly. Like this was I remember really liking this episode when it first came out. It's not the best of the S tiers, but it's definitely up there. The Answer. This episode is the first we get of an explanation on how Ruby and Sapphire first met. Back in Homeworld, like what, 7,000 plus years ago. And I really like this episode. It's just like really nice. It's probably the best out of all. I probably put an A tier, but out of all these episodes, it's probably the best one. The Big Show. Another Sadie-themed episode. It's just not that interesting, like the other Sadie-themed episodes. It's kind of like Sadie Killer, but like with the same vibe. So yeah, The Good Lars. What was this episode? I think this was the episode where Lars was like supposed to bake that like ube like cake or whatever for that like. When they had the party with the cool kids or whatever. And yeah, wasn't that interesting, except for the very end, like all the other Aquamarine arc episodes. So yeah, it's like a C tier. The Message. This is where they got the message from Lapis saying that Peridot was coming with backup to Earth to stop the crystal gems, and this is one of the episodes that leads up to Jailbreak. And yeah, it's just an all-around great episode. Also, if you haven't noticed, we're getting to the episodes that start with the. There's quite a lot, but this one is definitely like B tier. The new Crystal Gems. This takes place right after the zoo arc. It's about how, because the Crystal Gems, they were all in space, so if something attacks Earth, they'd be completely defenseless. So they have Peridot, Pearl, Connie, and Pumpkin help be the new Crystal Gems, and they don't really do much. All they do is like mess up a car wash, which is not really good. But yeah, it was one of the more funny episodes, I'd say. So I'd probably have to put it in like B tier. Let's see. What's next? The new Lars. Dude, I swear, half of these episodes I actually have to like remember what they're about. Because I think the new Lars was like... Well, it was the one where Steven like somehow took over Lars's mind when he was like asleep. I don't know how that works exactly. You can just do that. But this wasn't really that good of an episode. Yeah. The Question. Another episode that builds up to Reunited. Yeah, this is probably one of my favorite. This is another one of like those just amazing episodes. Definitely like A tier. The Return. The episode right before Jailbreak. This is no question S tier episode. It's not as good as Jailbreak, but it's definitely up there. The next episode, The Test. This is when they put Steven finds out that the mission from Cheeseburger Backpack was just a test. So then he asked them to give him a harder test, but then the test was rigged. And yeah, this is just not a good episode, I'm gonna be honest. Next episode, The Trial. This is one of the craziest episodes, honestly. Because it's just like, oh my god. The Trial, it was like so tense when you first watched it. It was like, dude, there was like, because it's like literally a trial. But it's like, it's fun. It's just, wow. Yeah, this one's definitely like S tier. Okay, the zoo. This is like the episode right smack dab in the middle of the zoo arc. Even though this is like the episode that the whole like arc is named after, it's like the worst one, honestly. It's alright, it's just not interesting. I honestly put this one in like D tier. Next episode, 3 Gems and a Baby. I don't know if I like this episode or not. I mean, it was like this, like the Christmas episode or whatever. I don't remember when it came out, but I remember this being like more of like a Christmas style episode. And it was good, honestly, but there was some parts I didn't like. So I'd probably put just like in the middle at like, just like a C tier. Tiger Millionaire. This is one of those episodes where I remember liking it when it came out, but now it's just boring. It's like, it's cool to see like the whole like wrestling thing, but it's just not interesting. I put it like right there. Tiger Philanthropist is honestly even worse. It's probably one of the worst ones when it comes to like random fillers. I mean, there's a lot of random fillers, but Tiger Philanthropist is just straight up boring. Together Alone. This is the episode where Steve and Connie fuse like in the middle of that like homeworld like ball thing, and then it causes a whole scene, and then it ends up getting everyone poofed. And yeah, it's just not a good outcome. I know they were just doing it because they like had fun, but it's like, was it worth it? Next episode, Together Breakfast. Like the funniest part in this episode is still when Steven made that like stupid face. It's just funny. But nothing else really happens in this episode. Like we just fight a giant like waffle monster. So it's like a D tier episode. Too Far. This is another one of those just good episodes. Like you just have to watch it to understand why it's good. Like it's hard to explain it. Too Short to Ride. This is the episode I was talking about back when I was talking about like Back to the Kindergarten and how I really liked it. Like, and there was another episode like it. This is this one. I honestly like I don't know. I think I like this one just a tiny bit more, but they're both like really good. Warp Tour, the first episode with Peridot. This is no question an A tier episode. I don't even need to explain it. Watermelon Steven. It's just not interesting, honestly. I think the only good Watermelon episodes... Well, this is like the only bad Watermelon episode. Even though it's literally the main one. It's just not interesting. We Need to Talk. This is the one I was talking about. The flashback episode with, like, the horrible song. The song called, like, What Can I Do For You? I know people could get, like... People who watch this who, like, have, like, heard, like, most of the songs. I don't know if they... I've never really seen, like, much opinions on this song, but I don't like this song at all. It kind of like just like messes up the whole flow of the episode. There's still some good parts in the episode, but it's just not interesting. What's Your Problem? This is the one where Steven and Amethyst go search for like Ruby when she literally like runs away after the Now We're Only Falling Apart episode. It was another episode that led up to Reunited, but this one, while it is good, it's one of the worst episodes that leads up to Reunited. It's still good, but like, yeah. When It Rains. This is another episode that's just amazing. Winter Forecast. I actually cannot remember this episode right now. My god. I have such a shit memory. Oh yeah, this was the episode where like Steven and Connie were trying to go home before the snowstorm came in, and like Greg had to like drive them, but then they kept stalling. But then it was like with like the future vision thing, and it wasn't even actually like a real like thing. I think I don't know. Like that episode still kind of confuses me, but yeah, I'd say it's definitely like a C tier episode. The last episode, Your Mother and Mine. This was another episode that had to do with the off colors, and I think this was the one where Steven brought Garnet up to the off colors, and they show him the story, and Garnet tells the off colors the story of Rose Quartz. Honestly, it was a really good episode. I wouldn't say it's one of the best, but it was like more entertaining, in my opinion. Okay. Yeah, that would. How long have I been streaming for? Like an hour and like 15 minutes. Okay. That's the tier list. Dude. I thought this was gonna take like 45 minutes at most. I'm kind of like, dude, it's so hot in my room. Okay. But I'm done now. I'm gonna like just save this later. Yeah, I'll just save it. Download image. I'll just do it later. Okay. Thanks for watching the stream. That's literally all I'm gonna do right now because that's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to make like a tier list because like I didn't really have anything else to do. And today is the 8-year anniversary since the show first premiered on Cartoon Network about like almost exactly 8 years ago, considering the time and everything too. But yeah. That's it. Thanks for watching.